The underlying thematic current portrayed in biblical stories that often tends to influence the manner in which cultural, racial, and historical connections are perceived. The book of Genesis, specifically, offers an intriguing profile of the patriarchal lineage of Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, their descendants, and the pivotal roles they played in shaping world civilizations. This article explores one of these lineages, that of Ham, in relation to its connections to ancient African civilizations, with a particular interest in the black populations. According to the biblical account, Noah's progeny formed the basis of all human existence post the disastrous flood, an episode that virtually reset human civilization. Each of Noah's sons is associated with the development of specific human populations, and Ham, the youngest, bears particularly notable significance in terms of African heritage. Traditional biblical interpretations have often associated Ham's lineage with black people and the ancient African cultures. In the Table of Nations provided in Genesis 10, Ham's descendants, which include his sons Cush, Canaan, and Misraim, are credited with establishing various African regions and cultures. Ethiopia is believed to be associated with Cush, Sudan with Canaan, and North Africa with Misraim. Another son of Ham's, Put, is considered to have fathered the line of black Libyans and various other African peoples. These descendants of Ham are historically understood to have been foundational to the demographic development of the African continent. An important premise in interpreting this connection lies in understanding the biblical perspective of race. The ancient Hebrews did not possess a modern understanding of race and ethnicity based on skin color, and their identification of nations and groups stemmed instead from geographical, linguistic, and familial connections. Thus, the association of Ham's lineage with dark-skinned peoples does not stem from racial typification, but rather geographical and perhaps even cultural associations. Comprehending the intricate association of Ham's lineage with African civilizations and dark-skinned peoples requires a clear interpretation and understanding of these historical narratives, particularly from a non-modern and non-Western perspective. A careful analysis of biblical and historical data can provide not only a deeper understanding of this intersection of religious scriptures and history, but could also foster a greater appreciation for the diversity of cultures and civilizations that form the proverbial melting pot of human society. While these connections are outlined in the Bible, they certainly do not form the full extent of heritage for African and Black people. Any inquiry into such a broad and diversified ancestral heritage should be comprehensive and multidisciplinary in nature. Beyond biblical accounts, our understanding needs to be enriched with information from. Contrary to popular misconceptions, Ham himself was not cursed. The curse, in fact, fell upon Canaan, who was destined to be a servant of servants to his uncles. The curse of Ham has been manipulated and misinterpreted in an array of ways across the centuries. From interpreting Noah's curse as a biblical justification for the African slave trade, to claiming it as an interpretation of black skin as a curse, these misconceptions have been instrumental in fueling racial prejudice. In fact, Hollywood's depiction of Noah as a white man has intensively promoted the erroneous belief that Ham's descendants must have been cursed with dark skin. Such misinterpretations, supported by ignorance and bias, have fueled unjust associations, stigmatized black people, and served as pseudoscientific supports for racism. To dispel such errors, one must consider the original historical and cultural situation in which the Bible was written. In the ancient Near East, where this narrative took its form, observing the nakedness of one's parent was seen as a severe breach of respect, a symbolic attempt to seize the patriarch's authority. Thus, the curse was not a verdict based on race, ethnicity, or skin color, but a consequence of Ham's disrespect for his father. Interpreting the Bible's narratives in their correct cultural and historical context is crucial to avoid perpetuating erroneous associations and bolstering unjust societal norms. Ham's actions and the ensuing curse had nothing to do with skin color. Instead, they depicted a classic theme of familial discord and the consequences of disrespecting parental authority within its ancient Near Eastern context. Engaging with this narrative purely within its original context eliminates any ground for its exploitation as a tool for racial discrimination. This understanding is key to interpreting the role of Ham's lineage in shaping the African civilizations. Ham is not outwardly condemned because of his actions, but on the contrary, some of his descendants are shown to have great power and influence, such as Nimrod, a mighty hunter, and king. It is thus important to point out that the curse of Ham does not apply, in any sense, to all African or black people. It's therefore crucial to avoid a simplified reading of the Bible that ignores the complexity of its narratives and their historical context. Such an approach only contributes to a distortion of information, resulting in harmful stigmas and stereotypes. Instead, these narratives should be studied and understood for what they truly represent: complex narratives of human behavior and society revealed within their historical and cultural context. In pursuit of gaining a comprehensive understanding of the historical connection between African civilizations and dark-skinned peoples, we must venture beyond the biblical narratives and explore the larger realm of academic disciplines. These include, but are not limited to, archaeology, linguistics, genetics, and oral traditions. Sticking to a single source of information, although as intricate and illustrative as the Bible, limits the dimensions and depth of our knowledge. Archaeology is particularly useful in tracing the ancestry and migration routes of ancient populations. By studying the remnants and artifacts of past civilizations, we gain invaluable insight into their daily lives, traditions, and technological advancements. Such findings from archaeological digs across Africa can substantiate the biblical narratives and provide a clearer picture of Ham's descendants' historical influence. Linguistics, another key discipline, offers an alternative perspective on cultural affiliations and common historical roots. The study of language patterns, structure, and development across different African communities may hint at common ancestral links, supplementing the genealogical information found in the Bible. In the disciplines of genetics and biogeography, a careful analysis of genetic markers prevalent in present-day African populations can uncover connections between different communities. By tracing these markers, geneticists establish a timeline that explains when and how various genetic traits appeared, providing a map of ancestral connections among different population groups. Such studies can potentially buttress or contest the biblical portrayal of Ham's descendants populating specific regions of Africa. Lastly, oral traditions, frequently seen in African communities, hold a significant place in understanding the Black and African heritage. These customs, passed down from generation to generation, work as living chronicles of a people's past, preserving and promoting the unique cultural identity of diverse cultural groups. They present an alternate historical narrative, potentially challenging or endorsing the connections suggested in biblical accounts. It should be clear that interpreting African heritage based on a single dimension, Ham's lineage according to the Bible, does not paint the full picture. The Sabaean script, the pyramids of Giza, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, and the Library of Alexandria are testimonies to the advanced civilizations of Africa that stretch beyond the biblical narrative. Complementary sources of information shed more light on the boundaries and limitations of biblical accounts and help dismiss biases or stereotypes perpetuated by oversimplification or erroneous interpretation of scriptures. Moreover, relying solely on biblical narratives might risk discrediting the contributions of other significant civilizations and cultures on the African continent. It is thus imperative to take a multidisciplinary approach when exploring the origins and history of African and Black peoples to foster a more nuanced understanding of their heritage in all its diversity and richness. It is a commitment to historical accuracy and collective memory, plus an important step towards rectifying general understanding of the historical connections between African civilizations and dark-skinned peoples. Determining the final resting place of Noah's son Ham is more than a matter of historical curiosity. It's an important element in piecing together the origins and migration patterns of ancient African civilizations closely connected to his descendants. However, the actual location of Ham's burial remains a topic of considerable debate, with theories suggesting that it could be in Ethiopia, Nubia, or even Egypt. Let's start by considering Ethiopia, which biblical and historical accounts often associate with the Cushites, descendants of Cush, one of Ham's sons according to the Bible. Several researchers suggest that Ethiopia could be Ham's final resting place, given the profound influence Cushites held in shaping the region. They established the Kingdom of Cush, a major power in the ancient Northeast African region, with its capital in Meroe, modern-day Sudan. It's conceivable that the physical remains of Ham could have been interred in this significant location, central to the realm of his descendants' reign. Nubia, often seen as interchangeable with or part of Ethiopia in historical texts, presents another potential location. The ancient region of Nubia, which encompasses parts of modern-day northern Sudan and southern Egypt, is well known for its near-obsidian black soil, likely influencing ancient Greek historians to name its inhabitants Nubians, derived from nub, meaning gold. Archaeological excavations reveal that Nubia was a significant cultural and commercial center, with evidence of trade networks and cultural exchange with Egypt. The connection between Ham and this thriving ancient civilization further supports theories of his burial within its confines. Then there is Egypt. Flanked by the world's most iconic pyramids, the necropolis of the pharaohs, Egypt stands as an indelible testament of one of the most powerful and enduring civilizations in human history. Notably, Misraim, Ham's son as per the Bible, is often identified with ancient Egypt. The name Misraim is indeed still used to refer to Egypt in the Hebrew language. It is not unfathomable to suggest that Ham could be buried within this land that his descendants ruled for centuries. The architectural grandeur of the ancient Egyptian monuments and tombs could potentially hold the remains of this patriarchal figure to which the region owes its genesis. While the theories are numerous and fascinating, it becomes apparent that the exact location of Ham's burial, whether in Ethiopia, Nubia, or Egypt, remains uncertain. Despite this, each of these potential resting places holds a strong historical connection to Ham's descendants. Perhaps then, tracing Ham's final resting place is less crucial than understanding the broader impact and influence of his lineage across these regions. The overall aim is to embrace a broader and more nuanced approach to understanding historical narratives by not just relying on biblical accounts, but also incorporating archaeological findings, linguistic studies, and other historical and cultural sources. Irrespective of the geographical details of Ham's resting place, it is evident that his lineage played a significant role in the establishment and growth of important African civilizations, their cultures and histories significantly influencing the continent's cultural and historical landscape. The Bible offers an intricate narrative of Ham's lineage and their connections to African civilizations, but it's certainly not the only document to lend valuable historical insight. Other ancient texts, such as the Book of Jubilees, an old Jewish religious work, provide additional layers of understanding and further enrich the narrative about Ham's descendants. The Book of Jubilees, often called the Lesser Genesis or Leptogenesis, is an ancient Jewish religious work that reinterprets the narratives of Genesis and the early part of Exodus. It is already complex and multifaceted, yet further exploration of it reveals deep sociological and historical content. Jubilees presents an elaborate account of the division of the world among Noah's sons, delivering a tantalizing depiction of the territories allotted to each descendant of the three sons. According to the Book of Jubilees, Ham and his sons were assigned 4 regions: Sudan, Cush, Egypt, Misraim, Libya, Put, and Canaan, each becoming a forefather of various African populations. It's noteworthy that these biblical divisions don't precisely line up with contemporary geographical understandings, yet they play a significant role in portraying the migration patterns and settlement zones of early human populations. The Book of Jubilees also expounds on the conflicts between Noah's descendants, usually centered on land disputes. Ham's son Canaan, for instance, is depicted as breaking the covenant by settling in the land promised to Shem, leading to intergenerational disputes. This narrative echoes the curse of Ham mentioned in Genesis, further showcasing the complexities of the dynamics within Noah's lineage. The significance of the document extends beyond religious interpretations. It plays a crucial role in understanding the historical and cultural divisions that were instrumental in shaping the early civilizations, especially those in Africa. The Book of Jubilees bolsters accounts of Ham's contributions to the diffusion of African cultures and societies, offering a more nuanced perspective that illuminates the prehistoric evolution of African civilizations. However, it's essential to approach the information provided by the Book of Jubilees with an informed perspective. As the text is steeped in religious, historical, and cultural context, a literal interpretation may lead to misconceptions and inaccuracies. Hence, the importance of situating ancient texts within a broader spectrum of historical understanding becomes apparent. Exploring not only the Bible but also other ancient texts, like the Book of Jubilees, opens up a more dynamic discourse that transcends religious boundaries and enters the realm of sociology, history, and cultural studies. This integration of diverse documents is essential to understanding the history of human civilizations, acknowledging the influences that formed them, and appreciating the rich tapestry of culture and diversity they represent.